Most people who want to invest in property never do. Not because they don't afford it, not because the market is working against them, but because no one sat down and showed them the right steps on how to invest into property. In our country, most first-time investors get into this completely blind. They find the property they are looking for and they think they like, they go straight to the bank, and then the bank sends them home with a rejection letter and no explanation. That is not a money problem, it is an information problem. So through this video, I want to put that to an end. I'm going to give you 10 steps that separate you from your first investment property. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which step you are at, and you will know exactly what is it you need to do next. Before we go further, please remember this video is for educational purposes only. I am a registered property practitioner, not a financial planner. So if you want to take a financial decision, please consult with a qualified financial advisor. Let us start before the property search, before the bank appointment, before you spend hours and hours scrolling on Property 24. There are 3 things the bank will assess before they say yes to you: your credit score, your deposits, and your provable income. Get these 3 things right and the bank will become a tool in your hands. But if you get them wrong, then the bank will become a wall. Let's first look at your credit score. Your credit score, it is a number that lives in the credit bureaus. Now, currently in South Africa, we have 3 different kinds of credit bureaus. And this number tells the bank one thing and one thing alone. What is that? It tells the bank whether you are a trusted person. Can you be trusted to repay your bond? In South Africa, a score above 650, that's where the banks are starting to take you seriously. But above 700, now you are in a position where you can negotiate the interest rate. And every 0.5% of your interest rate saves you thousands and thousands over the term of your bond. Now, here is what most people misunderstand about a credit. Having no credit at all is not the same as having a healthy or a good credit profile. Simple put, having no credit history at all, that means the banks have no evidence that you can be trusted. If you've never had a credit account, then you have to start small: a store account, a credit card with a very low limit. Use it monthly and make sure that you pay it in full each and every month, because the goal is not to spend more money. The goal here is to demonstrate your discipline. Most South African banks will require a deposit of 10% to 20%, which means if you are buying a house that is 1 million rand, then they will be looking at 100 to 200,000 upfront. But of course, that is not always the case. They usually require a deposit from people that are working abroad, overseas, or from people that are self-employed. Or if you are applying for a bond through your company, then that is when a deposit might be required. But here is the part that derails a lot of first-time investors. The deposit is not your only cost. You will need to also budget for transfer fees, for bond registration fees, and if the property is above 1.2 million, you will also need to prepare a transfer duty that is going to SARS. Which means if you're buying a property that is worth 1 million rand, then you have to have anything between 60 to 80,000 rand upfront. That of course excludes the deposits. If you will be paying a deposit, there must be 100,000 rand if the deposit will be 10%. So which means you're looking at anything between 160 to 180,000 in cash. I have a video where I'm breaking down each and every cost that is included or that is involved when you are buying a property, whether as your primary residence or for investment. If you want to watch that video, please go to the description. That's where you'll find it. So the idea here is to make sure that you are preparing yourself to save not just a deposit, but for all the legal fees as well that are involved. The bank does not just want to know how much you earn, they want proof. If you are an employee, the bank will want a payslip of like the last 3 months and your 6 months bank statement. And in addition, your most recent sales tax return. If you are self-employed or running your own business, then the requirements are a bit higher. 2 years of SARS tax returns, business bank statements, and sometimes audited financial statements. Now, here's something I need you to carry out of this session. If you are self-employed, be intentional with your tax write-offs, because every rand you write off reduces your taxable income. Good news for SARS, but bad news for your bond application. And why is that? That is because the lower your income, your net income, that means the lower they can qualify you for. The solution is simple. Before you file your SARS return, please consult with your bond originator. Let them run your numbers first. And that conversation alone can be the difference between being rejected and being approved. Now, this is the foundation, and most people think it all ends here, but it doesn't. Because there is a cost in this process that does not appear in any code. It doesn't show up in a brochure. It is not on the bank's website. But it becomes the biggest mistake most first-time investors make when they are beginning in the journey. And that is what I'm covering next. Before you look at any property that is for sale, please get a pre-approval, a bond pre-approval. I want you to say that again. Before you search for properties, before you drive into neighborhoods you think they have good investment, before you attend any open day, please get a bond pre-approval. Now, here is what the bond pre-approval does for you. Number one, it shows you exactly what you qualify for. Number two, it shows or it tells every seller, every agent how serious you are in buying the property. Then lastly, it protects you on one of the most dangerous things in property, and that is emotions. In South Africa, there are two ways you can get a bond pre-approval. You can either go directly to your bank or you can use a bond originator. Now, I always tell my clients, please use a bond originator, never approach the bank directly. And that is because a bond originator will take your one application and submit it to multiple banks at the same time. It can be ABSA, FNB, Standard Bank, Capitec, Time Bank, SA Home Loans, you name all of them. And that is all done for free. So which means the bond originator works for you for free but is paid by the bank. And that will mean the banks will compete over your business. And when the banks are competing, that means you get less interest rates or best interest rates you can ever get. A low interest rate means the low monthly repayment. And the low monthly repayment means a strong investment. And that tells you why a bond originator is not optional when it comes to buying a property through a bond. And that is a strategic advantage you can always use when you're investing into property. Now, most people always worry that applying to multiple banks at the same time affects your credit score. It does not. The rule is when you are applying for a bond in multiple banks within a period of 14 days, it is considered as one application. So that's how the rules are, which is why you have to use that advantage. Now, if you want to get a pre-approval and you don't know where to go, please use a link on my bio. I'm working together with Better Bond. So that link can connect you to a bond originator that can actually help you with all the numbers. That is a process of getting ready. Now comes a part that most first-time investors make mistake on. And it is not about which property they choose. It is about how they choose a property. There is one calculation that determines whether your investment property will be making you money or it will be draining you each and every month. And unfortunately, most first-time investors don't make that calculation or they don't do that calculation before they buy a property. And that is what I'm about to show you next. Property investment is not about finding the most beautiful home for Instagram, for your friends, for your family. No, it is about finding the numbers that make sense for you and your situation when you get into property investment. Now, mostly what I see is that the property that makes you feel nothing. It's mostly the property that will make you money each and every month. But the property that will get you excited, the property that will get your colleagues, your friends to respect you is the property that will cost you a lot of money. Before you make any offer, you need to ask yourself one question. Will the rental income cover the bond of this property. And that calculation is called the rental yield. Now in this industry, a gross rental yield of 8 to 9%, it's considered as a strong investment. But then you might be asking yourself, how do you calculate it? This is how. Let's say you are buying a property of 1 million rand and the rental income of that property is 7,500. Now this is how you will actually calculate it. I'm gonna go to my calculator quickly. I can't find it because of the camera. Okay, I have it, I found it. So what you're gonna say is the gross of the rental property. So which means 7,500 times, not the gross man, the annual rental income. 7,500 times 12, which gives you 90,000 rand. So you take that 90,000 rand, you divide it by the asking price or the sale price, which is in this case 1 million rand, and you multiply that by 100. Let's say what it gives you. That gives you 9%. Now, this investment is considered as a strong investment as long as the percent is between 8 and 10%. Anything less than 8%, it's not a good investment. Don't go for it. Run away from it. Now, the biggest question would be, where do you get properties with numbers like that? You need to do your research before you do your search. Start by understanding your targeted area. What prices are the properties they're selling for? Then you look at what tenants are willing to pay in rental each and every month in that area. And then you check the rental demand. What is the vacancy rate? Basically, how long does the house sit empty or an apartment sits empty in that area? Then you can calculate that. You can see then if it's worth you buying in that area or not. Once you find the right property in terms of the numbers, not the looks, then you put in an offer using the document called an OTP, an offer to purchase. This is a legally binding document. You don't want to sign it like without reading each and every word there. So don't let excitement make you sign without going through the fine print, because it's going to come back for you. You must know the right price for the property. Don't let excitement push you to overpay for a property that is actually overpriced. If you happen to lose a deal because you were not willing to overpay for that property, that is not defeat, that is discipline. The right property investment at the right price will come. One thing you have to know about property is that patience is not a weakness, but it is a strategy. Every investor knows that you need to do an inspection before you put in an offer. But I tell you now, most of first-time investors don't know what to look for. But most importantly, they don't know how to use the inspection or the condition of the property in their advantage when they are now negotiating the price. So now what I'm about to show you is how you can use the condition of the property as your negotiating weapon. Because the property condition and knowing how to use that, it is a difference between buying a problem or buying a profit. If this is giving you clarity, then consider subscribing, because each and every week I release a video designed to help you make better property investment decisions. Now, once your offer has been accepted, it is time now to inspect the property properly. Now, most of South Africans, they buy a property without what we call an IPCR. This is a condition report that the seller needs to sign and disclose each and every defect that they know is in the house, except for those that they don't know. Now, how does that help? That report helps you after you've taken charge or you are owning the property. If you find out that the roof is actually leaking in the property, there is no way the old owner did not know about it, then you can use that report to actually get the old owner to fix the roof. Now, let's say you did not have that condition report. That means automatically you are in charge, or you are liable, or you have to actually fix whatever is wrong with the property. So that's why I'm saying to you guys, it's very important that before you sign an offer to purchase, before you are sending it and it's accepted, get the report, the condition report, go through each and every problem that has been disclosed in that report, so that you have an idea of what problems you'll be facing once you take ownership of the property. Now, with that being said, here is what experienced property investors do. They always go further than just inspecting the property. They get 1 or 2 qualified contractors to do repair quotes. Now, most of the contractors, they do quotations for free. Why? Because they want to do the actual job. Which means before the negotiations, you now have 2 weapons. Number 1, it is the condition reports that you will be using. And number 2, it is the repair costs that you got from a qualified contractor. What that means is that if the seller is willing to actually fix everything that needs to be fixed, then you can go with an asking price if you're happy with it. But if the seller is not willing or is not in a position where they can fix these defects, these problems, then you are in a position where you can take a quote as it is and subtract it from the asking price. If the cost is 80,000, you minus 80,000 from the price. Automatically, there is no begging, there is no negotiating, there is no, asking permission. You just take it out because it's the money that you'll pay to the contractor when you are actually fixing this property. So once that is all done, then the transfer of the property begins. And this takes anything between 3 to 5 months, depending on the municipality, the deeds office, the conveyancing attorneys that are doing the transfer and all those things. But this matter is now on the hands of the conveyancers, not the agent, not the seller, not you as a purchaser. During this process, the conveyancing process or the transferring process, there are a few things you need to keep in mind. Number 1, make sure you do not apply for a new debt or you don't take any other loan. Number 2, do not change jobs. Remain on your same job until the transfer. Number 3, do not make any big purchases through a credit or even depositing large amounts of money into your account before the registration day. You know why? Because the bank can always withdraw your pre-approval for the bond, even if they said you qualify for 2 million, that's what they will give you. But if anything that is not circling the bank during the transfer, during the 3 months of transfer, the bank can always cancel the bond. What does that mean? That means the whole sale collapses. So what you have to understand is that you are not done until the deeds office registers the house into your name. And once that day comes of registration, that means then you receive the keys and the property belongs to you. That's when the investment journey begins. Now, if the property is in a perfect condition, you can go ahead and get tenants. But if it's not, it's time for you to fix whatever that needs to be fixed, and you can increase the rent by 15 to 20%, making money. That's why we're here. The most important rule in finding tenants, make sure you screen each and every tenant that you put into your property. It's best not to have a tenant than having a bad tenant, because a bad tenant can affect even good tenants to become bad tenants or to actually leave the property. So before you take the tenant, you need to do the credit check. You need to actually verify their employment. You need to check their rental history. Once you take a bad tenant, it will cost you a lot. It can cost you 3 to 6 months of not receiving a rental income. Even if you want to evict them, eviction costs a lot of time and a lot of money as well. So the right thing to do is to never take a bad tenant. This system works, but only if you will follow it as it is. All of it. Right there you have it, guys. Now you have the roadmap, the 10 steps clearly laid out in a right order. The only question that matters now is, which step are you willing to take first? If you are serious about buying an investment property and you want a clear picture of exactly where you stand right now, I offer free strategy consultations where we look at your current financial position together. We will identify the gaps and we will build a realistic timeline specific to you for your first property. Of course, no pressure, no pitch, just clarity. And if you're not ready for that conversation yet, then you can just go straight to my next video, and my next video is right here.